Hi, my name is David Gosney. I'm the Mission Director for USAID in Kenya and East Africa. And I'm here at the YALI Summit, and most importantly, I'm here with Ziporah, or Zippy,
Yes.
one of our great YALI alumni who's doing some amazing work. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you're doing.
Okay. So my name is Ziporah Nyangara Mombi, but so many people call me Zippy. That's my preferred name. I'm YALI Alumni, East Africa, Cohort 35, Civic Track. And I work and I lead an organization called Haven of Dreams, where we work on issues of mental health and psychosocial support, as well as child, adolescent, and youth empowerment. So, a backstory actually, the organization was birthed after attending YALI. So, professionally, I am a psychologist. And one of the things that I came to learn, and as I'm also practicing psychology, I'm practicing it also from personal experiences. I gave birth at what I consider as at an early age. And so, with that came a lot. Having being a young parent, dealing with navigating the fact that I had to stop focusing and chasing my dreams. I am a high achiever, and so when I don't achieve the things that I need to achieve or I think I need to achieve, sometimes I tend to feel withdrawn and depressed. And so, becoming a parent at an early age when I wasn't really expecting kind of shaped everything. And also now having to uh, raise my kids single-handedly. And so for the longest time, as much as in high school and in college I had leadership positions, I always struggled with imposter syndrome, thinking that I am not enough, and or I still need to do more so that either I'm accepted or getting into positions. But one of the things that I wanted to do was work with community, make the community a better place. By high school, initially, I wanted to become a neurosurgeon, and then I realized biology and me, we were not together. But then, oh, yeah, again.
Yeah, I can barely hear as well. It's really.
So we start again. Yeah, it's okay. Oh, we
Just
just
pick
pick
it
it
up.
up.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, everything when I was young, I wanted to become a neurosurgeon, but then I realized biology, I couldn't really hack biology. But in high school, I had one of my light bulb moments when I was selected as a head girl, and so I had to lead my fellow students. And now my peers would come to me with issues that they were going through. And I realized I may not be a neurosurgeon, but then I have a gifting of being a good listener. So I already knew that I wanted to work with the community. And one of the things that I would do even in high school was take some of my classmates, my schoolmates that were using drugs. And so the deal was you will not use cigarette, but then I will come and pick you on Sunday so that we go to church. So, but then again, I think when now becoming a mom, when I wasn't expecting, kind of changed everything. And so you start doubting yourself. So in 2019, I applied for YALI. And this was courtesy of the library in Nakuru, where we had also had the American Spaces. So someone invited me for an information session. And that's how I got to apply for YALI. I was turning 30. And so that's also the first opportunity that I got. So sometimes I always say that I am a late bloomer, but I still bloom. So, yes, so I wanted to start an organization. I had already figured out a name that I wanted to call the organization, and that is Haven of Dreams, where it's a safe space for your dreams to become, for you to become the best version of yourself. But at that moment, I never knew how. So, when we went, for YALI cohort 35 in November, I remember going through the high ropes. in the high ropes, and that was another light bulb moment that I had because of the lessons that we learned from the high ropes, from the activity that we learned. And at that point, there was one of the facilitators called Mama Sandra, who kept on telling me, Zippy, the world is your oyster. Go conquer it. Do it even if you will do it afraid. And so by the time we were finishing the 4 weeks, I already had the resolve that I want to go and start the organization. So at Haven of Dreams, what we do is we work on addressing issues of intergenerational traumas that is passed from one generation to another. And this is also because in one of the areas that I work in, we realized that there were so many teenage mothers. And so we started asking, so we have teenage mothers, where is it coming from? What is happening? And we did a sort of baseline survey and realized that their parents were also teen moms. Their grandparents were also teen moms. And it was coming from a point of drug addiction. It was coming from a point of mental health disorders. And so, and looking at it, we were also identifying the black and white family patterns. These are patterns that we carry, the good things, the bad things from our family, from our parents, because we all come from somewhere. And so our idea was for us to address issues of mental health, we have to go to the root cause, not just talk about mental health conditions, but where is it stemming from and what can we do better. And so that is how we started a program called Okwa Kairetu, which means Save the Girl Child. So we have worked with teen moms to help them understand their mental health, their mental worth, to help them understand and also develop psychological resilience, because some of them go to have sexual intercourse probably because of sex for paz, trying to escape poverty, and in the process they also get pregnant, and in the process it also means that their quality of life also goes down because they have to stay at home to take care of their kids. They also have to do odd jobs so that they're able to take care of their kids, and it really affects their being and their worth. And if not careful, they also pass it to their children. And when you're talking about mental health and even the society, if we do not have mental health or we do not have families that are healthy, individuals that are healthy, we cannot have families that are healthy. And mental health is actually linked to everything, linked to the economy. It's also linked to our reproductive health. It's linked to how we have conversations and even interact with other people. So that is one of the programs that we have implemented as an organization. And because mental health comes and with its own stigma, we use approaches that can really can be embraced by the community. So we use a lot of art, because when you use art, it's safe. You don't have to someone doesn't have to like say it just explicitly, I was raped, but art depicts the experiences. We use a lot of play, we use sports, and we also use books. There's a program that we run during the holidays where we read books to young children, and so from that they are able to even just express themselves, learn who they are. And also currently at the moment we have something that we call happy hour. So happy hour is something that we do at the community level, where we use indoor games mostly and just have community members come, and as they play the cards, as they play chess, they get to talk about mental health in an informal way, without using jargons, without using big terms, and for them also to embrace the process of mental health. So that is what we do. We are looking at an organization where we will empower the community, first to know their worth and also to live in their purpose. I believe that once you get to know why, you answer as Simon Sinek says, what is your why are you here? It could be in the marketplaces, it could be in the corporate, it could be in the art space, but then once you know your why, it helps you, and it helps you to push forward, it helps you to become a better version of yourself, and then it also helps you to do life. There's a saying that in Luo back in Kenya that I subscribed to. It says chaka chaka, just start. So I am looking forward to helping young people understand their worth and live in their purpose. Yes.
That is such an amazing story, Zippy, and
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that with us. And I think it really illustrates a few really core things that YALI is all about.
Yes.
It was mentioned at the beginning of the summit, YALI is based on a premise of investing in people,
Yes.
because people are really the foundation of enabling all communities to grow and thrive and foster.
True.
And when you invest in people, they then in turn invest in people. And I think
Sure.
that was, what was highlighted in your story, how you took a little bit of investment in you, and then you're using that to grow within your community as well. And a lot of times in YALI, a lot of attention is paid to entrepreneurs or other people like that. But there's so much more that can be done as well, I think, because we're investing in the whole of people. It's
Yes.
based upon that premise. And that includes their health and not just their physical health, and you said your mental health.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think your story is really so remarkable and amazing. We know, however, within all countries, sort of mental health sometimes comes with a stigma, and that stigma can differ sometimes between genders, but also generations. Can you say a little bit more about when you came to the communities and begin looking at how you can address and support the community's mental health? The differences you saw between genders or generations and how you address those.
Okay, I will. So one thing that I noticed with the older people, sometimes it really is hard for them to open up, and it also stems from when we're looking at intergenerational trauma. We are also looking even before colonization, and even right now during colonization, how colonization affected our mental health. For example, my grandparent was part of the Mau Mau, and so that meant that she would be away most of the time. She would narrate, and I think that's also why I got curious about intergenerational traumas. So, what would happen is that the parents or our grandparents who fought for the independence, they were away most of the time. And so that affected their children, who are our parents, because they never understood, one, how to receive and accept love because their parents were absent. And so you will notice that the second generation, most of them are actually into alcoholism. They use violence as their way of even punishment as their way of disciplining their children. And so what happens now to this third generation is now realizing that, one, there's the aspect of mental health disorders. And when we are talking about mental health in the aspect of generation, you'll find that our parents rarely talk about what they go through. They do not know how to handle the situations. And remember, our parents raised us based on how they were raised. So, one, they never talk about what they go through. Two, their ways of handling issues is different from us because I always make a joke that my mom punished me once, and the other times were attempted murder because of how she would really punish us, because there was not an opportunity to have conversations. So for them, it kind of gets okay, it's not something that cannot be done. It can be done, but then of course it requires different approaches. And then also, when you're also talking about mental health, it also depends on the developmental stage that one is at. Are they at their retirement stage? Are they at their prime age? And then also, now when it comes to younger people my age, the millennials and what we'd call Gen Zs and even Gen Alpha, they are now asking questions. And because of access to information, because of technology, right now people can understand. There's some that even have self-diagnoses that oh, I think I'm having depression. Oh, I think I'm having anxiety. I think it's now time to go and see a psychologist. So that access to technology is also helping, and they are embracing it more compared to the other generation. But then, of course, like you said, there comes a lot of there's a lot of stigma when it's related to mental health, because now when you're talking about even culture and in terms of gender, male and female, men have been raised in an African culture that they are the leaders, they are the providers, and men are not supposed to cry or show their emotions. And because of that, and that stereotype and that bias, men rarely talk about what they are going through. They rarely talk about their emotions. And so for them, they handle their issues either by shutting down, by getting involved in alcohol, compared to women who, because of our socialization and even the chamas, the groups that we have where we can just go and talk about what we are going through. We talk a lot as women. If I'm taking a matatu from Nairobi to Nakuru and I find my fellow woman, by the time I'm alighting that matatu, I've already felt some form of ease because of having to talk to these fellow women. So yes, men rarely talk about their issues compared to women, and then that's why also the suicidal rates in men keep on increasing compared also to women. But then again, I would say that it also depends with the approaches. For example, most of the men that I've dealt with rarely want to have a conversation, a one-on-one conversation in a therapy center, in a therapy room. They're like, no, this is very constrained. This is suffocating for me. So what we do with them is we use sports. So we use sports like, for example, football. We have football matches where we have men come play, and then afterwards, after they've released the tension, we talk about mental health, compared to women where we'll just come and have stories. Yes.
That is so interesting that you're creating spaces that feel natural and comfortable for people to talk.
Yes.
Because I think, as you've highlighted, that's the key. But not everybody is comfortable expressing and talking in the same forums. You know,
Yes.
whether one on one. And I think your example of sports and then having people who have bonded over something then share their experiences is really striking.
Yeah.
And you also highlighted learned behaviors, which I thought was very interesting as well, and some of the ties to some of the other things that afflict communities around the world, including in Kenya. And I know one of the things you touched on a little bit was violence. And then, as we're dealing with right now in Kenya, an uptick coming out of COVID and during COVID of gender-based violence against women in particular. But again, a very difficult space that sometimes is rooted in mental challenges in others. So I'm interested on how that you see that affecting communities, and when you deal with those type of challenges along with other challenges, you talked about teen pregnancies and others. What's the impact that you're seeing so far on your efforts in the communities where you're working?
Okay. So one of the impact that we are seeing in my community is reduced suicidal attempts. Because when we started the program for the Okwa Kairetu, actually on that day that we started implementing, one of the girls had already bought poison and a rope. She was like, I am done. But then what we have done is that we've been able to walk the journey with these young people. And so they are able to understand in the event that I'm having stress, because stress is part of us. Then how do I handle? So they are able to handle stress in a positive way, and they have also been able to gain resilience. The other bit is that we've also worked on the issues of mental health, but then because we've been able to help individuals understand themselves, the young people understand their worth, they understand where they are coming from and where they want to go. So what we have done, because when you are mentally okay and mentally whole, it's easy for you also to engage in even economic activities. So what we've done is we've worked very closely with the national government, CDF, the Constituency Development Fund. So whereby we have helped the young girls to go back to school. So the CDF, the bursary, has been able to help them to with school retention, so that they're able to go to school. Also do technical courses. We've also been able to link them to existing opportunities where they can make a living. But I think for me, the most important thing is even when they are going through issues, they've been able to form their own community, a support system where they can just go and have this conversation, and also learn that, as much as when you're doing programming, there's the hype that, oh, I am okay, I've learned the skills, and then afterwards life hits you and then you get to understand the reality. They now have the tools that they need to handle stressful situation. They now understand how to handle conflict to a point that even before they even call me and tell me I am going through something, they will already have done several things before reaching to me. Then they will, we meet with them, and then they were like, oh, because they call me teacher. Teacher, you told me this. So this is what I am doing. And then most importantly, because these teen moms come from a family, we've been able to help the families to come together because now they are able to understand themselves. Like, oh, so in our family, we have anger issues. How do we deal with this anger? In our family, we are creative. How can we harness this creativity to become the best version? And then also because we also trained the community and we continue to capacity build the community now is able to understand mental health. And so the stigma has reduced. And also, just to answer, when it comes to issues of gender-based violence, what we've also done is we've linked gender-based violence. There's a nexus, like you said, between gender-based violence and also mental health. So we've also been able to create awareness on the same, but then also offer what we call psychological first aid to GBV survivors. And if one of the things that we do as an approach, we use the low-lying approaches for sustainability. So we train the community members on psychological first aid because we are not there all the time, but we have community health promoters that are there. So what we do is that we train them on the skills. We use a lot of WHO recommended approaches. So we train them, then they're able to support the system. So we work on ensuring that the whole cycle is empowered.
Wow, that's really amazing, and I think again underscores that the belief that by investing in people, the belief that the U.S. government took 10 years ago and the American people 10 years ago took, that by investing in people around the world, and particularly here in Africa and in Kenya, the amazing impact they can have when they bring that leadership, that investment back to their communities. And I think you've underscored the transformative effect it can have. So my last question to you, though, Zippy, is what's next for Zippy? Where do you want to go from here?
So I want to go to so many places, but before that, I think right now I'm back in school, furthering my studies as an individual, as a leader, because in our country we have, especially in Nakuru, we have criminal gangs. I'm interested in dealing with criminal gangs. I work with them at the moment to help them understand the push and pull factors in them joining criminal gangs. Something else that I want to do now for an organization, I'd love to have an art therapy center. So a center where individuals can come just to use art at any point. For them to build their psychological resilience. So that's what I am focusing on at the moment. And then also ensuring that we continue to tailor make programs for different groups. Because one thing that I've realized is that when you tailor make programs for specific groups, there is a possibility of even close to 100% success.
That sounds
Yes.
fantastic. And
Yeah.
thank you for your leadership. Thank you for all you've done. And I know all you will do.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.